The next weapon variant peers around the corner, folks. It is not long from now. This next weapon variant, coming up, I believe, in February, has to be one of three things. You have metals, minerals, and miscellaneous. All three of which are based on our current mythics, with gold being a metal, jade being a mineral, galactic falling under the miscellaneous. I've made for you 8 possibilities for each of these categories as to what it could be. Let's dive into the metals. We have gold currently, so let's keep it simplistic. Bronze. That's a very simplistic idea. It would look great. I love brown personally, so I'm a little biased to this one. Silver. Right in between. I think it's a neutral tone. All of our variants have been colored currently, so it would be nice to have one a little more flat. Still very cool though. Maybe it's a little basic for you. So, a little bit of a spice added on top of it would be platinum, with that blue tint. That's very nice. I think that looks beautiful on both of these. Not blue enough, I heard. A little peep from the comments. Not a problem. Cobalt is more blue than platinum. This is going to be our straight up blue weapon variant, which I know is a color a lot of people are hoping for. Brass is an alloy metal, quite similar to gold in color, but it is desaturated, different enough from gold, I'd say, to where it's a unique weapon variant. The metals aren't too varying, in all fairness. I've got copper here, which is sort of just in between bronze and brass, or even bronze and gold, if you will. It still looks very nice. It's a desaturated bronze, pretty much. Though if they were to add copper, they could be a little bit unique with it and go for oxidized copper, like the Statue of Literally. Holy moly. And finally, tungsten, which is a dark, shiny grey colour, which would reflect very much so on the surroundings in your Overwatch games. Very cool. That's it for the metals. Let's move over to the minerals now. Now that's a placeholder word because I wanted them all to begin with M. I'm not gonna lie. These are minerals, crystals, gems, whatever you want to categorize them as, all here in their own weapon variants. Amethyst is a purple one, quite similar to galactic honestly, but it has that different texture on it, making it quite unique indeed. Diamond is a very, very different color from what we already have. I think this would look beautiful. This is probably the one I'm hoping for in-game the most. I think this would be absolutely fantastic. Sapphire is the clowner blue color. I would absolutely adore this in-game. I think there are so many skins that would benefit from this sort of weapon variant, and I'm biased because it's my color. Topaz, for an interesting orange gemstone. This would be very bright, very vibrant. Again, would go with a lot of different skins in the game. It's not too glaring, if you will, like the amethyst one perhaps. Garnet. Now the reason why I chose to do garnet instead of ruby is because they did jade instead of emerald, leading me to believe, maybe they'd be a little bit obscure with it and go with a garnet instead of a ruby, slightly more orange toned instead of a ruby color, but I still think it looks absolutely fantastic. An interesting one here, Unikite. Now that's a gemstone I didn't even know before making these, but I saw it and thought it looked very, very interesting. Now, if you know the gemstone, it looks like it, but if you don't, maybe this is just looking like rotten flesh to you. And that's not too appealing. So, the gemstone, there it is. Now does it make more sense, folks? It's not decaying flesh. The 2 best mineral weapon variants left for last, we have Onyx. Whoa. A very dark but very, very shiny weapon variant. This would go so hard. For all you goth chicks out there, this one's for you. And finally, for all my opposite of goth chicks, for all my heaven-bound chicks, the quartz weapon variant. A very, very slight tint of blue, but mostly just white. I think this is absolutely fantastic. Exactly the sort of candidate for the next weapon variant, as it's completely different to the colors and textures we already have for the other ones. I think that's absolutely fantastic. Let us move finally to the miscellaneous weapon variants. These ones are based on the galactic ones, of course, but they are all incredibly varying. As you will see, that some of them are a little bit jokey. Let's just move to it. A glowing green radioactive biohazard weapon variant. I think this would go so hard for so many different characters. I know we already have a green, but I think this is different enough to where it's like, crazy. Void is the second one here, a little bit similar to Galactic, but this one was suggested by someone for me to do, so I figured, I'd do it for them. The black is different enough to where it looks different from Galactic, I'd say. A very interesting weapon variant indeed. Inferno. Could be named many things, could be named Magma, like the new Doomfist mythic, or whatever. This is a very cool one. It's not to be mistaken with baked beans. I assure you it's not baked beans. This would be like an inferno-y lava effect all across the gun, glowing and perhaps even shifting a little bit. I think it would look pretty darn cool. Dark ice. This one would be very, very interesting, like the very, very bottom of a... What are they called? I always forget the word. An iceberg. What dam sunk the Titanic? I think this would make for a really unique texture, more importantly. Doesn't even have to be dark ice, it could be normal ice. I think it would still do the trick just fine. Lawn. You heard it, folks. The Lawn weapon variant for Hazard and Juno here. I was running out of ideas a little bit. Chrome is an interesting idea for a weapon variant. Now, I was considering putting this in the metals, but I think this is miscellaneous enough to where it would fall in the category of the Galactic one. This is incredibly, incredibly shiny, would be a bitch to render, and would probably look pretty poop on low graphic settings. A cool idea nonetheless. Speaking of being a bitch for graphic settings, the psychedelic weapon variant. Holy LSD trip. This would be very, very fun, very colorful, very, very rainbow. I know a lot of Overwatch players are into that sort of thing. Either if you're gay or if you're a drug addict, you're gonna love this skin, quite frankly. And finally, we have Basilisk, which is a mythological scaled creature, sort of like a dragon. I didn't want to just name it Dragon, that felt pretty boring. The Basilisk weapon variant would be very, very cool. Doesn't necessarily have to be this color, I just thought the pink and green was very, very contrasting and different to what we already have. So that sums up all of the weapon variant potentials. If I didn't get one of them right, I'm going to be very upset. I'm going to come back to this video to double check that I got it right with one of the 24 options that I made. Please, oh please God.